because we hear so much about a disc injury, a herniated disc, can you just briefly explain what that is and whether that qualifies as a serious injury to get paid?
Right. In itself, it does not, because it's filled into one of these categories, right? You just heard. However, if because of that herniated disc, now what it is, let's go back to what is a herniated disc.
Yeah.
I remember when I had a trial and my doctor was testifying, and he wanted to explain this to a jury the way that the jury would understand. Now, and I like how he started. What are discs? What are discs in our spine? So discs in our spine, they're not bones. They're not, meat particularly. I like his example. He said that they're like cellophane pockets filled with crab meat.
Interesting.
So picture that, right? Picture that. And those are the pockets that are inserted between your vertebrae. Vertebrae are actually bones. Those are the bones forming your spinal cord. Now, those discs are sort of like amortization provided for your spine to be able to, be flexible, to help us walk, to help us sit down, jump, run, so on and so forth. So when you get into a car crash, a lot of times because of the whiplash, whether for your neck or for your back, some of those discs suffer herniation. What is a herniation? It's basically when that cellophane pocket full of crab meat gets squeezed on one side and bulges on another side.
I see. Interesting.
That's what herniation is. And as such, it does no longer provide as much of flexibility as it used to. Moreover, sometimes if the herniation is with impingement on a nerve, it will provide constant pain.
Right. Yeah.
And
like a shooting pain.
Provide shooting pain.
Yeah.
It might provide numbness if it's a cervical spine herniation. It'll provide. It's a neck herniation. It'll provide numbness in your upper extremities, like arms and wrists. If it's a lower back herniation, that might provide numbness in your lower extremities, such as legs, knees, and that could be pretty debilitating. Now, it's one thing to have, that pain, let's say, for a person like me whose job is really being behind the desk, maybe going to trials. But it's a very different thing for somebody who is physically employed, like a carpenter or a construction worker.
Yeah.
A lot of, there are a lot of treatment. A lot of times they try to fix this with physical therapy, by doing some exercises. They're trying to realign your back to stop pressing on that particular disc. They do chiropractic involvement. They adjust your back. Sometimes they do acupuncture. Acupuncture is really just to alleviate pain from that particular nerve that might be impeached by those vertebrae between the discs.
Gregory, you gave a very good explanation of what it is. I never knew exactly what it is, and you would think you're a doctor the way you explain it, because you have to, for the jury, so they understand what the person is claiming.
Absolutely. Listen, we've spent so much time with doctors.
Yes. So you have to know both the medical side and the law side. Yeah.
And a lot of times on trials, you'll see doctors argue with each other. There'll be doctors who are treating him, who claim, who say that this is what the problem is, and that's how I treated it. A lot of times, I just didn't finish. A lot of times, herniations will require a surgery, and some surgeries are not as intrusive. Sometimes they can do what's called an arthroscopic surgery where they don't really open you up, and they go and they use a laser to sort of
Mm,
burn out that
okay,
bulging part of the disc.
I see.
Uh, it's called a discectomy, and
Mhm,
sometimes those surgeries are pretty invasive. They
mhm,
actually open you up and they put up a cage around that disc to
wow.
support those vertebrae. That's called a fusion surgery with instrumentation. And now knowing the definition of serious injury, you understand that if that herniation kept you from being able to return to work for
Mm,
90 days out of the first 180 days,
mm,
then you pierce that threshold.
mm,
Most of the cases that people have, where people didn't break anything, didn't
right,
die,
right,
thankfully,
yeah.
most of the cases that plaintiff's attorney deal with, we deal with this branch of this definition that says significant limitation of body, significant limitation of use of body, organ,
Mhm,
or
mhm,
system.
got it.
This is where it comes. Now, let's say you get this surgery
Mhm,
to your neck or to your back that created that cage that now protects that herniated discs
right.
from vertebrae having to push on it. Now that cage will create, you'll have that limitation. You will no longer be able to go all the way
Mm,
to the left,
oh,
all the way
wow,
to the right, all the way up, all the way down.
I see.
And that's it. This is no longer an argument. In that case, of course, the defendants will go back to another point in this equation, is causality, and whether or not that injury was caused by this
Mhm,
crash.
mhm, mhm,
And of course, they'll say that this was pre-existing. Of course, that they'll say that that this is genetic, and
mhm.
so on and so forth. But this is just the nature of the beast that we deal with, and
Yeah,
we know exactly how to handle each one of those arguments.
exactly. So, Gregory, just to sum up, from what you are explaining, this is very complicated, where an injury could be considered minor, where you will not get paid, to maybe there are nuances and details that could make it where you could get paid for your bodily injury. That's why it's so
Yes,
important to go to an attorney that does personal injury for a living, and that's all they do, because they see these cases day in, day out. They understand
absolutely.
the medical terms, they know how to read the
Absolutely.
charts, the x-rays, the MRIs, and they could guide you whether or not you could recover money, not just for the heck of it, but you actually, because you deserve it, because you lost some function, because you were prevented from doing your job, and so on and so forth. Only an attorney like Gregory Spektor, with the right experience, can answer those questions for you. So we encourage you, if you have questions, if you're in a car accident, don't delay. Call the number on the bottom of the screen, and Gregory Spektor and Gregory's associates and partners will be able to answer your questions on your particular situation, on your particular car accident, on your particular injuries. Gregory, this is
Absolutely.
very informative. We appreciate it. Thank you for your time. I know you're busy. We're going to let you go back to work for your clients. Thank you and have a great day. Thank you, everybody, for listening
Thank you,
in.
Mike. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Bye-bye.
much.
Bye.
Take care.